here at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista. Just finished a clinic for some coaches and thought it would be a good place to come out and do some filming for the next video, which will focus on training plans for marathons. The track is unique here. It's an 8-lane track, but on the home stretch over there, it actually has a 12-lane sprint 100-meter dash, which I've never actually seen a race on that, but I think that would be pretty fun to be a part of. Let me start with a story about Jared Ward. After he returned from his church service mission in Philadelphia, he went to watch his brother race the Foot Locker Regional Championships in California. There's an open race matched with that, and he decided to jump in and see what he could do when he's completely out of shape after getting home from his mission. And it went fine. It wasn't a great race or anything by his standards, but he learned later that the NCAA declared that counting as a season of his cross-country eligibility. So with his senior year there, he had indoor and outdoor track, but no cross-country left. So coach and he decided to get ready for the Chicago Marathon, which would be early in October, plenty of time to recover to get ready for the track seasons that were left. Now, I'll share with you today the general plan that he followed so that you can see here's what at least one group of elite marathoners uses for their training program, and give you some ideas of how you might be able to scale that if it doesn't apply to the abilities that you might have. And at the end of it, I'll share a little plot twist to the story there of Jared and his eligibility. An important idea to think about as overriding all of this marathon training is that it's during the recovery time when you're actually gaining fitness. You're technically losing fitness while you're actually running because you're breaking down your body. So recovery should be a major focus as you're going through any marathon training program. The general program to think of, the way we've been doing it with Coach Eyestone, is Monday is a recovery day, Tuesday is a very hard marathon-specific workout, Wednesday another recovery day, Thursday is a more moderate activity in terms of marathon training workouts, then Friday another recovery day, Saturday would be the long run, and Sunday we just take off and do our recovery to build some added fitness and prepare for the upcoming week. Let me give you an idea now of what each day of the week's purpose is, along with some examples of how we might handle those days. Let me start with the first hard workout of the week. It's usually close to race pace or a little bit quicker and has a relatively high volume as far as workouts go. Now the purposes of those days are to increase lactate threshold, improve running economy, increase aerobic capacity, increase mental toughness, and improve our pacing skills. Some examples of those types of workouts would be 2-mile repeats. We often start doing 3x2 mile early in the program, building up to 5x2 mile about 3 weeks out from race day. Another example would be a PMP, predicted marathon pace run. This would be anywhere from about 6 miles up through a half marathon for the typical training that we do. We also do other intervals like 3x3 mile or 2x4 mile. Sometimes early in the season it might just be a regular tempo run of somewhere around 5 miles. And one of them that's really quite challenging is what we call fatigue miles. This is where we'll go anywhere from 6 to 10 miles at about 30 seconds per mile slower than race pace. As soon as we get back to the track, all we do is change our shoes, maybe do 1 or 2 strides, and then start doing mile repeats, which is usually 3 or 4 of them. And they are significantly faster than race pace to try to teach our body how to run fast when we're very fatigued, which could be the necessity at the end of a race when we're trying to push through to the finish to either get the time we're interested in or try to pass or stay ahead of any competitors. The second workout of the week, which is typically on a Thursday for us, would normally be something of a more moderate volume but a little bit higher on the intensity or the paces that we're running. The purpose of this is to focus a little bit more on the lactate threshold part of the training rather than just the general aerobic conditioning. And examples of this would be things like 6 to 8 times 800 meters with about 3-minute recoveries, or 5 to 10 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 10 to 12 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 20 to 25 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 30 to 40 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 40 to 50 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 60 to 70 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 80 to 100 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 100 to 120 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 120 to 130 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 130 to 140 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 140 to 150 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 150 to 160 times 1,000 meters with about 3 minute recoveries, 160 to 1 or 4 times a mile with maybe 5-minute recoveries. Sometimes it might be a fartlek, where we go faster than race pace and slower than race pace. The typical one we do is usually 10 minutes hard, 5 minutes easy, 5 minutes hard, 5 minutes easy, 3 hard, 3 easy, 2 hard, 2 easy, and then 1 hard. But it can be mixed up as 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, whatever combination of time, depending on the needs of the athlete. The Saturday long run is one of the days of the week that we dread and also get excited about. It ends up early in the season being things like 15 to 18 miles early on, building up to being about 20 to 25. We usually switch 21 week, 25 the next week, back and forth for a few cycles of that. The entire program is normally about 12 weeks long, so we're starting in those 15 to 18 miles, gradually building, and then hoping we can hit 25 milers at least 2, usually 3 times as we go through that build. The actual run ends up being anywhere from about 40 to 60 seconds per mile slower than race pace until we hit a pickup with anywhere from about 3 to 7 miles near the end of the run, where we'll try to get really close to race pace, being able to handle that pace when our legs are already pretty worn out and we're in a bit of that dehydrated state that you would experience as you're in those later stages of a marathon. Now, the purpose of this run is pretty complex in terms of all the benefits that come from it, but it's mainly to improve our running economy and increase our aerobic capacities. Some of the key components in there that are included would be increased capillary density, increased blood volume, increased red blood cell count, alveolar density, which are the parts inside your lungs that transition oxygen into the bloodstream, increased mitochondrial density. Those are what we call the powerhouses of the cells that produce the energy that we need to run. Enhanced thermoregulation. We become better at controlling our body temperature. Increased glycogen storage so that we have more energy available coming from our muscles and liver, converted into the energy that's usable for us, and improved blood flow during recovery. Now, we often focus on what were your workout times, what was the pace on your long run as the key indicators of what is being effective in terms of our training and conditioning, what our current fitness is. But the recovery runs are where we spend most of our time, and we need to really put a good emphasis on doing those correctly. The purposes of the recovery runs are to help our body heal a little bit quicker by increasing the blood flow to the muscles and other areas that need to receive that healing, and only have minimal gains in terms of the aerobic fitness that we're seeking after. But we need to make sure those recovery runs allow us to heal our body rather than break it down more and have us in a bad state for when we continue on our next workouts. One of the challenges with the recovery runs is knowing what pace we should actually be going. So I'd like you to consider, am I getting recovered? Is the next workout turning out well? If it is, you're probably not going too quickly on them. If you're feeling really beat up and tired, then you should back off a lot, and it might be best to ignore the pace on your watch and just run or go with someone that you know is going to be slower than you and just stay with them, not trying to pull them along. Just go an easy day and let your body recover. You got to remember the purpose is not so much aerobic benefits and gains, but to heal the body, and that requires blood flow. So you can get healing through some moderate or light running, but if you're really fresh the next day and you're in a marathon build, then you're probably taking it a little bit too easy, and you may need to increase the intensity of the recovery runs a little. Now, there's a really big spread. I've seen people that prefer 6-minute pace, and if it's not that quick, they don't even want to count it, and others that are going slower than 7-minute pace, and I'm talking about the cross-country runners at BYU, so they're already really talented, but even within that group that's not finishing all that differently in terms of race day, have a really big spread on the recovery runs. And they've just learned over time what seems to work best for them in terms of recovering for the upcoming workout and finding the healing that they need to avoid injury. Now realize this is a general plan that works very effectively, but does need to be modified according to the needs of the person, their training history, their current abilities, and so on. Coach Eystone has been an expert at modifying these workouts according to who he's working with, and it's very important to have a coach or someone that can give you the right advice to help you along the way determine how you should be adjusting the weekly mileage, the long runs, the workouts, and so on. But this is the program that has worked well for multiple runners over the years that are looking at fast marathon times. I mentioned that I'd let you know how Jared's story ended out with that marathon. He did well in Chicago. He did struggle a bit in the last mile. He'd gone a little bit faster pace early on than he desired because it was fairly windy, and he had the choice of running by himself with a fairly strong headwind or running up with, I think it was Mike Morgan, at the pace that was a little bit faster, and paid for that at the end of the race. But still ran a 2:16, which is a good debut marathon, and he definitely progressed even better from there as he ended up 6th in the Olympics in Rio. But he finished that race and started his recovery, getting ready for the track season coming up, and the NCAA accepted an appeal that allowed him to be eligible for cross country. So I think it was 4 weeks after Chicago Marathon, he ran the regional race at, don't remember where it was, but ran regionals, finished 4th, felt great, smiling as he crossed the line. And then a week or two later, he's running the national meet and helped the team come to a 4th place finish, which counts as what they call podium for NCAA championships, which was exciting for the team. He ended up 2nd for our team in about 36th place. Funny little side note about that, with 1K to go, he was running right with Footsum, who ended up finishing 4th, and Jared was 36. So a bit of the marathon recovery still was not quite complete, along with not really the right training program in terms of getting ready for that 10K race at Nationals. But in the end, a great finish for how that season played out. Now, if you have any specific questions about adjusting training programs, go ahead and put some things in the comments, and I'll respond to what I'm able to keep up with.